Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and I'm an attorney that assists nurse practitioners with employment contract and independent contractor agreement issues. Today I'm going to talk about collection-based pay for nurse practitioners. So some of the things you need to look for, obviously some red flags as well, and then some language that you probably want inserted in your contract to keep you safe and make certain that you are paid any of the money that you earned. All right, so what is a collections-based compensation for a nurse practitioner? Essentially, it means you're going to get paid a percentage of anything that the practice collects on your behalf. So I'll just kind of take you through an example of this and then some hybrid models as well. So somewhere between 30 to 40% will be a normal percentage for a nurse practitioner to receive collections only. And so what that would mean is, let's say the practice collects, $30,000 for you per month, and then you had a 33% collections percentage, then you would just multiply 30,000 times 1/3, and so you'd be paid 10,000 for the month. Things to keep in mind when you're paid on collections, not production. So the difference would be there are plenty of times where a practice will bill an insurance company and then it's either denied or it's written down, or perhaps it's a fee-for-service model and a patient's on a payment plan and then they flake out and don't pay the rest. So a normal percentage for a practice would be about a 5% write-down rate. So, based upon denials and write-downs and bad debt and all that kind of stuff. So for every $100 that's billed on your behalf, the practice will collect around 95% of that. That's a normal practice. Now, obviously, the percentage varies. Very inefficient practices, those are places that you want to be leery of because you are simply going to make much less money over time if their billing and collections department, is not on it. So that's the simplest way of doing a collections model. Now, there can be hybrids where you're paid, maybe a guaranteed base, and then you get a bonus based upon your collections as well. Or it could be you have a draw, meaning you're paid a certain amount, but then that's reconciled against what your actual collections are, and you perhaps could have a negative accrual, meaning if you were paid more than what you actually brought in, then your negative balance could be moved forward to the next month. I would say that's not as prevalent in the industry for nurse practitioners. Easily just a straight guaranteed base salary is the most common way that a nurse practitioner is compensated. But it's always nice to have some kind of incentive compensation. And so another way of doing it would be, let's say you had a guaranteed base salary. They would do the same calculation. They would take whatever you collected for the month. They would take whatever's paid out to you via your guaranteed base. And then you would get the, in this case, the third of whatever was left over. You could be paid monthly, quarterly, every 6 months, annually. It really depends upon what your contract says. Now, the most important part of this, and if there's one thing you could take away from this video, it would be you want to make certain that you are going to get credit for any collections received after the date of termination. Many contracts will state you will get no compensation after the date of termination beyond whatever you were accrued via your base salary. And so let me explain. So if you're paid purely on collections, so let's say you're on a third of whatever is collected. You work for, let's just say it's the last month that you work. Well, a normal kind of accounts receivable cycle for an insurance claim is going to be, somewhere between 30 to 60 days. So you're working in your last month, but the practice isn't collecting any of that money for, 45 days. And if your contract states you get no percentage of collections after the date of termination, you're essentially working for free for the last month and a half that you're working for a practice. So you want to make absolutely certain that there's language that says, the nurse practitioner will receive credit, percentage, or however you want to phrase it, for any collections received after the date of termination up to anywhere between 90 to 120 days would be a fair amount. The percentage, brought in by a practice based upon a service past 90 days is very small, and past 120 it's even smaller. So I'd say 90 days is like a safe number where you can kind of be certain that you're going to receive most of the money that you earned, based upon all the encounters that you had in the last month of whatever you're doing. So that's absolutely necessary if you're going to be based on a collections only agreement. One other red flag, you don't want to go into a job only paid on collections from the very beginning. There's always a ramp up period. It always takes somewhere between 6 to 18 months for a practice to reach maturity. Now, obviously it depends upon your specialty, but let's just say you're doing family medicine, you're an FMP, it takes time to build up and have people come back to you and be familiar with you and be comfortable with you, and for you to get efficient within the practice and be aware of the EMR and all that kind of stuff goes into it. So you always want at least some kind of guaranteed base for at least the first year, and then you can transition into a collections model after that, and that way you're not kind of screwing yourself out of all of the kind of low volume months in the beginning as you work your way up. No one jumps into a practice from the very beginning and just is immediately, at the highest level. Perhaps that would happen, but it's extraordinarily rare. So those are some things to think about if you're being paid on collections for a nurse practitioner. If you have any questions about your employment contract or independent contractor agreement, now feel free to contact my law firm. All the contact information is listed below in the description, and I hope you enjoyed this video. All right, thanks. Take care.